The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Welcome everybody to the WAMSCO 2020 annual meeting finally. I do want to let everybody know that this is being recorded. So just so you are aware, we will be posting this on our website for those folks that were not able to attend. You are all muted. You do have a chat box in the bottom where you can ask any questions during the presentation. We will be monitoring that and be able to answer those. The other option you have is you can actually raise your hand by clicking on the little hand icon, which is in your control panel. If you'd like to ask a question live, if you'd like us to unmute you and ask it live, for those of you who are not familiar with this virtual meeting platform. That being said, I would like to kind of just get right into it. I know that we're going to be having some folks probably joining in as we go through. So the first thing on our agenda here, hopefully everybody is able to see my screen, is our treasurer's report. We currently have a balance of $5,873.46 in our checking account. $529.60 is in our account for our Big Lakes grant that we are working on. For those of you who aren't from Big Lakes or are interested in that, we did actually apply and receive a grant for Big Lakes, and they are doing some lake plan management or management planning, sorry. And that has been underway despite this entire COVID situation. We've had some really great meetings doing social distancing outside, everybody wearing masks. We've done some virtual meetings as well with everybody there. And the work is still being started, although it's been different. But hopefully next year we'll be able to get a little bit more boots on the ground and do a little bit in there. Brenda can give a little bit more of an update on that one later as well. Brenda, putting you on the spot there. So that is where we're at right now. And then we have $10.06 in our savings account, which is a required dollar amount in order to keep our accounts open. So if anybody has any questions on that, we do have our ongoing costs related to our website and our URL and all of those things that we have to have going forward. Then the next thing that we have, we're going to kind of skip around here, or we're going to kind of go forward a little bit because there are a few things that will go a little bit over. So,
this is a boy's color.
So I'm going to start right now with bringing up the connecting our waters. So I'm going to take myself off the screen, and if everybody else wants to turn their webcams off, except for Emily.
Brenda, excuse me, Shanda, did you introduce us?
I am sorry, I did not. And then we should also have a motion for that treasurer's report, I suppose. Oh, no, we don't need one for that. I am Shanda. I am your current president. Chris Sampson is also on, and he is one of your general board members. Chris, you want to say hi?
Hi, I am representing the Cloverleaf Protective Association.
And Dave Zellinger?
Hi, I'm representing Shawano Area Waterways Management. I live on Shawano Lake.
And Mark Emmerich is our secretary. Mark?
Hi, I'm secretary, and I represent the Neshoquet Lake Association and everybody in Menominee County.
And we have two other board members that are currently not on the call due to some other conflicts. Susan Johnson is our treasurer, and Terry Nielsen, and Susan is over in Menominee County as well. And Terry Nielsen is in Shawano County, and he is our vice president and represents our agricultural folks. Brenda?
Hi, this is Brenda Nordine with the DNR. I'm the lake biologist for Shawano, Menominee, and Marinette and Oconto counties.
And Emily.
Hi, I'm Emily Henry Gillis. I'm the Regional Watershed Coordinator for the Connecting Our Waters program, which is a partnership of the Foxwolf Watershed Alliance and WAMSCO.
Okay, and Emily, would you like to say anything prior to starting your presentation?
Nope, just some updates.
Anna's on.
I'm sorry, Dave?
Anna's on.
Anna is coming on.
Oh, I've been on since 9.
Okay, so Anna, would you like to introduce yourself? Your webcam is not on right now.
Oh, I have my little thingy over the camera. Hi, I'm Anna. I'm the AIS coordinator for Connecting Our Waters, and Emily already gave the background, so thank you.
Okay, so what I will do is we can all turn our cameras off, and I will pull up Emily's presentation and give her a chance to answer any questions that you may have or say anything additional at the end of hers. And then we have a presentation from Anna, which I will do the same thing for. I'll pull that up and play, and then Anna can give us any additional information or answer any questions following her presentation. And then we'll move right along.
Hello, everyone. I'm Emily Henry Gillis, the Regional Watershed Coordinator for Connecting Our Waters, and I'm here to give you an update about Connecting Our Waters. So, as a reminder, who are we? Connecting Our Waters is a program of the Foxwolf Watershed Alliance in partnership with the Waterways Association of Menominee and Shawano County. We've been in partnership for about 2.5 years, and it's been a good time. What do? We focus on improving surface water quality through shoreline restoration, agricultural outreach, water quality monitoring, and aquatic invasive species education. For this presentation, here's a quick overview. We're going to talk about some shoreline updates. We're going to just briefly touch on agricultural outreach updates, and then we're going to spend the majority of our time talking about the new water quality monitoring program we got going in 2020. So to start off, here are the Shawano County Shoreline Survey results. The lakes included in this are Big, Loon, the Cloverleaf Lakes, the Red Lakes, White Clay Lake, Korth and Bar Lakes, the Pensaki Lakes, Long Lake, and Shawano Lake. These surveys were completed from 2017 through 2020.
Hello? Emily, I lost audio.
Yeah, I did too.
Which is mainly leaf litter or pine needles,
There we go. Sorry. Is
soil,
that better?
sand, things like that.
Yeah.
And then 1% of our
Thank you.
zone on all of these lakes contains agriculture. The other thing that's big that we looked at is the bank zone. So that's that immediate transition between the water and the land. So in all of the bank zones across all of these lakes, 67% of it is unaltered shoreline, which what we're saying with that is that there's no erosion, there's no riprap, there's no seawall, there's basically just the property goes down and then it meets the lake. There's nothing breaking that transition up. 28% of our shorelines have some more armored shoreline, whether it be a seawall or riprap. And then 2% of our shoreline includes beach. And then we have a little bit of erosion going on, and then some other erosion control structures. So that would be like a biolog, or, you know, if there was some work being done on the shoreline, there would be like construction, just something else is in that bank zone, that immediate transition between the lake and the land. Other things to point out about this survey were there are 1,893 runoff concerns within these lakes. So the point source picture used in this is the very easy thing to visualize when you're thinking about a runoff concern. But most of our runoff concerns are lawn or soil sloping towards the lake, or a stair, trail, or road present and coming towards the lake. Both of these things allow water to go untouched and possibly uninfiltrated straight into our lakes. So while it's not a point source and a pipe just pumping things into the water, they are a source of pollutants into our lakes. We saw just over 1,300 piers, just over 700 boat lifts, 486 fire pits, 99 beaches, 97 swim rafts, and 14 boathouses. So looking at all of these results and doing a number of the surveys, here are our general conclusions. We need more shoreline restoration. You know, we saw that 50% included shrub and herbaceous plants within all of the lakes. But again, we still need more. Shoreline buffers and rain gardens are beneficial to all lake properties and to the lake's water quality. One thing to think about that sometimes we forget, shoreline buffers can be added behind seawalls and riprap. This is really important because it helps just further stabilize that shoreline on top of the extra armoring that it may need. And these shoreline buffers, again, can help slow and eliminate runoff coming from the landscape. So we need more of them. They're great for the pollinators, they're great for the water quality, they're great for your soil. We need to remediate active erosion. So while we didn't have a lot, this erosion is a direct input of phosphorus and sediment to the lake. And when you think about, you know, runoff coming, if you think about the watershed scale, it's very easy to point fingers, you know, with that person who has a lawn just sloping right down, or, you know, that farmer has agricultural runoff coming. But erosion is right there on the lake's edge. It's actively bringing phosphorus and sediment into the lake as it continues to erode. So we need to stop that. And the ways we can do that are the use of shoreline buffers, again, to help stop the runoff coming from the land. But then if you add things like biologs or similar plantable material, like, you know, they have those erosion bags that you can stack, or something called Curlex blocks, which are like harder blocks. Those types of things can help that erosion from the lakeside, when then having the shoreline buffer is helping stop the things coming from up above. The other thing that we don't talk about as much is the cultivation of submersed floating leaf and emergent aquatic plants in front of shorelines. So having that nice layer of lilies and cattails or rushes, along with a lot of native plants on your lake bed, you're really going to slow that wave action down, whether it be from wind or boats, before it hits your shoreline. So it hits these plants within the water, and that slows down the water. And then as it comes closer to your shore, it's not going to have as much power to continue to erode it. We need to increase coarse woody habitat. A few of the lakes that we surveyed the shoreline also had coarse woody habitat surveys completed. And no matter what those found, all lakes can use a little more coarse woody habitat. We need to decrease the presence of sand within the riparian zone. Again, beach wasn't a huge part of our bank zone makeup, but adding sand to that shoreline riparian zone and partially into the lake is terrible for the water quality, and also it can be a problem for some of our benthic organisms, or the organisms that live within the lake bed. So we should try and not continue to add sand. And then finally, we need to decrease the littoral zone disruption. So that means, if possible, use smaller lifts, less lifts, install smaller piers, and then also less raking of native plants, or as most people call them, weeds. Again, this goes back to that cultivation of the submersed aquatic plants, and then that leads to floating leaf and emergent plants also. So if we allow those things to be there, we should have a healthier lake overall. So if everybody needs to do shoreline restoration, who's paying for it? The Shawano County Land Conservation Department offers 50% cost share up to $2,500 for shoreline restoration and rain gardens. This funding is expiring in 2021, so please apply as soon as possible. And just as a note, an individual may apply for this funding. You don't need to work with your lake group to apply for this. But please, if you're considering applying, do it soon. Menominee County also offers cost share funding for shoreline improvements. They cover 75% of the cost for soft practices. So that would be things like shoreline restoration, rain gardens. But then they will also help cover 50% of the cost for hard practices, which are things like riprap or some maybe more structural changes that need to happen to secure hillsides from erosion. So those types of things, if your erosion is that bad, they will help you with some of those costs. And then finally, Healthy Lakes grants are available. So these will cover up to $1,000 per practice per year. And they offer a couple more options. They offer 350 square foot native plantings, rain gardens, fish sticks, rock infiltration, and all of these things can be very beneficial to the water quality. The deadline for that, though, is November 1st, so this one does have a time constraint on it, and then you find out that following March. The other thing with this is a qualified organization needs to apply on your behalf, so a landowner cannot apply for these funds. A lake group should advertise it and get as many people as possible and then apply. So this is where if you are just one person and want to get it done, going with Shawano County can be great. So we've also helped implement some projects because of these shoreline surveys. So due to the completion of these shoreline surveys, we have assisted with applying for 2 Healthy Lakes grants, one with the Shawano Area Waterways Management and one with the White Clay Lake District. The Shawano Lake Project has 5 Healthy Lakes participants within Shawano Lake, the Wolf River, and the Shawano Lake Outlet, installing shoreline buffers, rain gardens, things like that. And then White Clay Lake is working on putting fish sticks in. They're hoping to do it this winter if the ice is good. They were not able to get out there last year and do it. We've also worked with landowners to install 2 projects, one on Long Lake and then one at Swan Acres on Shawano Lake. And then now with the results from the Cloverleaf survey, we're working with the CLPA to get a Healthy Lakes grant submitted so they can have funding to further improve their shoreline. And then outside of the shoreline surveys, we also worked with some landowners on the Cloverleaf Lakes to add a shoreline restoration project to Gibson Island in 2019. So if you have a shoreline that's similar to what's going on there, so a lot of trees kind of shaded, that would be a great place to go check it out and see what's growing and see what you like. So moving on to our agricultural outreach, we produce a semi-annual newsletter called the Basin Buzz. This has been being produced by the Fox Wolf Watershed Alliance for a number of years in the lower Fox watershed, so the top of Lake Winnebago up to the Bay of Green Bay. So we have also been sending one out to over 700 farmers within Shawano County. As you can see, we do a lot of advertising for the Upper Fox Wolf Demonstration Farms Network. We try to highlight our farmers, and then we also work to include things from UW Extension to get some of their trainings and informational sessions out there. So moving on from there, that was short and sweet. The big thing that we've been working on in 2020 is this water quality expansion project. So we worked with the DNR and Shawano County Land Conservation to expand the areas being monitored around Shawano County. We wanted to expand both our lake monitors and our stream monitors. So we worked to do that. As you can see, we are looking for lake monitors. I'll talk about it in a second, but that's the postcard we sent out. And one thing I want to say before we get into this is we are always looking for volunteers to help with stream monitoring. I'll explain more in a second, but the more people we can get out there sampling, the more we're going to understand what's going on within our counties. So briefly, before I get into it, I would like to talk about the importance of monitoring. So one, I'm sure a lot of you attending are very familiar with why sampling your lakes are important. You can, determine long-term trends. You can monitor changes within the year as well as for many years if you are continually sampling your lake every year. So the same goes for streams. The Upper Fox Wolf TMDL, which stands for Total Maximum Daily Load, that was just completed this year in 2020, and with that opens up a lot of funding to do large-scale implementation on the land to improve the water quality. So a lot of it goes to changing farming practices or large stream restorations, things like stream bank restorations, things like that to help eliminate how much loading is coming into our streams. So a TMDL finds the amount that is acceptable to allow a pollutant to enter our streams. So phosphorus, sediment, some of them are done for trash, just how much is allowable for the water body, and then that sets the numbers of where we currently at and where we need to be. So that is why stream monitoring is important, because we want to see these changes and see the benefit of these changes. So the combination of the lake monitoring and the stream monitoring led us to put together a water quality plan for Shawano County. It discusses these different monitoring programs and projects, talks about how to communicate with the volunteers, and then who is volunteering, where they've been volunteering, and it just puts it together in a nice package, so the monitoring can continue for, again, years to come, no matter who is leading it. And as I continue to stress, we need to keep monitoring in 2021 and beyond. The longer we can get data from any site continuously, the more we're going to know. So volunteer to monitor your lake or stream. So the in-lake site expansion, this picture map is showing any sites that were monitored in 2019 and or 2020. So the red arrows are pointing at new sites as a part of this expansion project. So we sat down with the DNR and asked where they would like to see more sampling. And then we sent out postcards to the property owners around that lake asking if they would be willing to start sampling their deep hole. And we got responses. Colpack Lake, the Pensackie Lakes, and White Lake, all of those volunteers were a result of the postcards. Big shout out to Dave on the WAMSCO board, who helped us find a volunteer to sample the Wolf River Pond. And then Shennick Lake, which is down near the Cloverleaf Lakes. We were out with a different volunteer last year looking to see what kind of aquatic invasive species they may have, and we met our volunteer Dave on that lake, and he took up sampling for us this year, which is just fantastic. So if you are unfamiliar with what it looks like to get a lake monitoring program going, with the CLMN Citizen Lakes Monitoring Network. The first year that a volunteer is out there monitoring, they're looking at just the Secchi disc depth or transparency. And then they're also taking a temperature profile and hopefully a dissolved oxygen profile. We were able to get dissolved oxygen profiles on a number of our lakes, which was exciting. And then after that first year, that's where some more advanced sampling can occur if they think it's needed. Otherwise, the Secchi disc depth and temperature are just continue to monitor year after year. But if you get into that more advanced monitoring, you're going to sample for things like total phosphorus and chlorophyll A. Shennick Lake did actually do some total phosphorus and chlorophyll A samples this year. They've had some water quality issues, so it's been pretty exciting that we're able to get sampling going on that lake. We also expanded our tributary monitoring. So like as I mentioned, talking about the TMDL, a Huck 12 is just a different name for a watershed. It's based on its size. So that 9-key element planning and that TMDL study, they can break things down at this Huck 12 level to look at how much pollutant is coming in within that watershed. So I just listed the Huck 12s we were looking at, but really you can see we had 4 points along the Embarrass River that were sampled at least once. A number of them are sampled 3 times this season. The Red River is being sampled, and then an unnamed tributary in the Shennick Creek watershed. Also, we found a volunteer to monitor that when we hung up posters asking for volunteers, and that's how we found the majority of our volunteers for this program. So training, how did we get everyone out there and sampling for water quality this year? Well, due to COVID-19, like so many other things in 2020, we weren't able to have some of our partners out in the field to help us lead these trainings. So Connecting Our Waters trained all of our volunteers in both June and July. And it was really fun. The picture in the middle with the blue kayak, that was our volunteer's first time in a kayak, and she came out and helped me sample the deep hole on White Lake, and we talked, and it was really nice. But it was funny that she showed up and had never been in a kayak before. We had a good time. When I was training our Wolf River Pond volunteer, he took me out in the Shawano Ski Sharks boat, so I got to be on a boat with 500 horsepower. That was pretty fun. He opened it up a little bit for me. And then this picture in the bottom right corner is Mark, our Kolpak Lake volunteer. And he was so excited to be a citizen scientist. He asked me if that's what he could call himself, and I said, of course. So that was really fun. And then our last picture is Scott Frank with Shadow County. We were doing a refresher on part of the Embarrass River that he has volunteered to help sample. So it was fun training everybody. Most of the training documents came from these online resources. WAVE, they held multiple online trainings, and then they have really great documentation on their website. And then the CLMN monitoring is another great program, and all of their information is out there. So those are the 2 training resources we use to get all of these people out in the field and going. Just because I like to show results, because it shows we did something, I threw up some deep hole temperature and DO profiles from a couple of our lakes this year. You can see that most of them were kind of shallow lakes, 14 feet. And you can also see that these lakes all stayed relatively mixed all year long when the samples were taken. So from June to September. So again, that's just interesting that they all kind of were like that. I didn't have any results to show from stream monitoring, so I figured I'd throw some in there for the lake monitoring. So stream monitoring, this is a newer one for a lot of people, and it can be kind of hard to imagine what you're doing with that, so I wanted to go through that a little bit more. So stream monitoring, what are we looking for? If you're doing some of the more basic stream monitoring, you're looking at things like transparency, so you can see that picture in the middle with the long tube. That's how you determine transparency for a stream. In a lake, you use Secudis. This is the same, but to contain that, you put it in a tube and then you slowly release water until you see the Secudis. You look at temperature, you look at dissolved oxygen. So a lot of our sampling involved little hatch DO kits. So you made a solution in the field and determined what the dissolved oxygen was based off of a titration. So putting drops into a bottle and it changes color. So that's always fun. You look at stream width and depth. So as you can see in the picture in the lower right corner, it was very nice having 3 people out. We were able to hold the tape measure across and measure the stream depth at 20 intervals across the stream. We measure velocity, so the picture in the upper right corner shows the tennis ball test. So one person drops it upstream and then there is a specific distance you measure the time for. So you can determine the speed at which the water is moving. And then finally, macroinvertebrates are collected twice a year during stream monitoring, and you can see the picture in the lower left corner. You use the D-net and you kick the sediment in there and then identify what's there. That one is probably the most fun, but that's my personal opinion. If there's also more advanced stream monitoring, where they do special products where they're looking at just more details. So you can see in that middle picture on the bottom, we also at this site, we're taking samples for total phosphorus, total nitrogen, total suspended solids, and dissolved phosphorus. And that just involves doing a grab sample in the middle of stream. So putting that bottle down into the water column and taking a sample. So yeah, these pictures make stream sampling look fun. So again, you should probably volunteer to do it. And with that, here is our contact information. You should follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Snapchat. We're fun to follow, and you'll learn a lot. Here are our websites, Connecting Our Waters, Foxwolf, and WAMSCO. Please sign up for our e-newsletter. We send out a monthly e-newsletter on the second Friday of the month. So let me know if you want to sign up. You can email me and I'll get you on the list. I was offering office hours at the Belle Plaine Town Hall. I am currently not doing that just due to social distancing concerns. But if that would be easiest for you to ever meet me or Anna, please let us know and we can set something up to meet there. And then here are Anna and I's emails and phone numbers in case anybody has any questions. So thank you, and I look forward to questions.
Okay, well, thanks, Emily, for that awesome PowerPoint presentation. It was super, super informative. I'm going to remind everybody that you can ask questions by either typing them in the chat box or in the question box. Additionally, you can raise your hand if you'd like us to unmute yourself or unmute you so you can ask a question live. I'll give everybody just a second to do that. And just wanted to say thank you so much to Emily for the presentation and also for during all of this COVID restrictions and difficulty with everything for getting some great citizen volunteers trained for the river and stream monitoring. Hopefully next year things get opened up a little bit. I did want to thank any of the other volunteers. I'm sure that there's a few on the line. I know there's at least 1 or 2 that have been doing some stream monitoring and lake monitoring for a number of years. We've got some folks that have been doing this for decades, and that data is invaluable when we are looking at trying to get things implemented and finding out where issues are and what's good too. That really shows us what's really good for waterways. The other thing that I wanted to let you know is that WAMSCO also does have some trainers as well as Emily. We've got multiple resources that you guys can go to get trained if you are interested. And I know that Connecting Our Waters had some training kits. The WAVE program has training kits, and WAMSCO also has, or not training kits, monitoring kits. WAMSCO also has a number of those. So very easy to get going. So I'm just going to reiterate Emily's shout out to call for some citizen scientists. It really is kind of fun if you remember your old chemistry classes, and you can get back into that. Emily, do you have anything else that you want to add to your presentation?
Nope. I appreciate you all showing up and watching our presentations.
Okay. Well, I do not have any questions right now, so I think what I am going to do from here is I am going to open up, grab hers here. I'm going to open up Anna's presentation and start on that. So if we can all turn our webcams off. Chris, if you can turn your webcam off, please, while we're not on. And I am going to start Anna's presentation.
Hello, I'm Anna Barch, the Aquatic Invasive Species Coordinator for Shawano and Menominee Counties, and I'll be providing an update on the Aquatic Invasive Species Program of Connecting Our Waters. As the AIS Coordinator, I help plan and implement AIS work within Shawano and Menominee Counties. My activities fall into three categories of invasive species management: education, which involves communicating with the general public about aquatic invasive species concern and prevention steps; planning of invasive species management by working closely with the counties to update and implement their countywide AIS management plans; and prevention of new invasive species occurrences and the spread of the AIS that are already present within the counties. The Clean Boats, Clean Waters program is a program of the UW Extension and the Wisconsin DNR that trains volunteers and paid staff to perform inspections on boats that are entering and leaving bodies of water and to provide aquatic invasive species education to boaters. The goal of the program is to catch any hitchhiking aquatic invasive species before they have a chance to spread to another body of water, and to inform the boaters that participate in the inspections how and why they should be performing those checks every time they visit a body of water. We also collect important information during watercraft inspections by performing surveys. We collect information about boat travel and boater behavior to help make a better Clean Boats, Clean Waters program. Annually, the Connecting Our Waters program conducts 200 hours of Clean Boats, Clean Waters watercraft inspections at over 20 launches in Shawano and Menominee counties. We also train volunteers for our own program and paid interns from local lake associations to conduct those inspections. This year, we trained 2 volunteers and several interns from the local lake associations of Legend Lake and the Cloverleaf Lakes. Last year, nearly the entire membership of the Lamotte Lake Association from Menominee County were trained on AIS identification and Clean Boats, Clean Waters inspections procedures. Overall, the Connecting Our Waters program has implemented a very positive Clean Boats, Clean Waters program. However, due to the ongoing pandemic this year, Clean Boats, Clean Waters efforts have not been as impactful, but that is to be expected given the current circumstances. Many Clean Boats, Clean Waters programs, including Connecting Our Waters, are following the precautions that were suggested by UW Extension and the DNR. Among the precautions, we've been advised to limit the time that we spend at very busy landings and avoid busy times at those landings, and instead focus on landings with less traffic or generally smaller groups of boaters. The data reflects the changes that are going on due to COVID, as you can see on the graph, with less boats inspected and less people contacted than you would expect for being as far along on the boat inspection hours as we are. One positive impact of the pandemic, though, is that people seem to be itching to get outside, so we've had an increase in volunteer participation this year. Several times a year, the Clean Boats, Clean Waters program has campaigns that are aimed at connecting with specific types of water users. The campaigns generally coincide with holidays and game seasons, which are times when we see peak use of water bodies and high traffic at boat launches. The campaign events are special because boat inspectors hand out freebies for boaters that participate in watercraft inspections, like boat towels, ice packs, and boot brushes. This year, Drain Campaign, which typically happens on Memorial Day weekend, and Landing Blitz, which happens over the week of 4th of July, were merged because of the COVID pandemic. And during that week of campaign events, the Connecting Our Waters program hosted a watercraft cleaning demonstration at the Shawano County Park Boat Pressure Wash Station. During the event, we were interviewed by WLUK Fox 11 for the event, and the interview was broadcast across central and northeast Wisconsin and also shared several times on social media. AIS Snapshot Day is a fun volunteer event AIS campaign where water enthusiasts come together to monitor for aquatic invasive species and share their results with the DNR. This is a great way to get local citizens involved in the fun part of invasive species work and helps keep them informed about what's going on in their waters in a fun way. Right now, this fall, we are in the middle of waterfowl hunter outreach. During the fall, during waterfowl hunter season, AIS education turns towards educating waterfowl hunters. This is because, just like anglers, waterfowl hunters often use boats to get to their hunting locations, and even those that don't use boats often hike through wetlands, and anytime equipment and gear like decoys and even waders and boots, anytime those things come in contact with surface water, there's the potential to be spreading aquatic invasive species from one body of water to another. Last year, for waterfowl hunter outreach, we joined the Wisconsin DNR conservation wardens for a ride-along for the group check during the opening weekend of waterfowl hunter outreach. Unfortunately, because of COVID this year, that ride-along couldn't happen due to protocols that the WDNR is following. So that's kind of unfortunate because we had a lot of fun last year, but again, it's understandable as many of the things that we look forward to have been canceled this year. In late fall and early winter, we participate in bait shop outreach, which is when we contact bait shop owners about educating their customers about how aquatic invasive species can be spread even during the cold months. We contact bait shop owners and hand out brochures and stickers that we ask them to give to their customers. Community events are another way that we connect with citizens. Local events like holiday festivals, fishing tournaments, lake shows, and kids' fishing days are really important because they often draw very large crowds. We often put up AIS education booths at these events to show off our specimens of aquatic invasive species and to spread aquatic invasive species knowledge to visitors. We generally get a lot of kids and interested people drawn in by the specimens that we present. Some local events that we've attended include Gresham's 4th of July Festival and the annual American Marine and Motorsports Boating Show. At the American Marine Boat Show, we typically reach about 200 people, so events like these are really important for reaching a lot of people. We also attend fishing tournaments because just like those AIS campaign events, tournaments draw large crowds, and those kind of tournaments draw people who need to hear the AIS prevention message because they are using the water, but they are also very interested in protecting our local lakes and rivers because they have a reason to want to protect local water from aquatic invasive species because they depend upon healthy lakes and rivers to participate in fishing programs and just overall enjoyment of the lakes and rivers. Unfortunately, due to the pandemic this year, we had to put a halt on attending community events for now, but we are looking forward to ice fishing tournaments. Hopefully we'll be able to attend those and get back out there while still socially distancing. Not all of the work we do is visible as community outreach. We also partner with Shawano and Menominee counties to update their invasive species management plans. These plans need to be updated about every 5 years because so much can happen in the aquatic invasive species world in a very short amount of time. Unfortunately, new invasive species are sometimes introduced or the already invasive species that are present can spread or hybridize, which is the case with Eurasian water milfoil hybridizing with the northern water milfoil and making them more difficult to treat. Our understanding of invasive species also changes all the time, so that new knowledge needs to be tracked. New techniques for control pop up, and sometimes those techniques are better than the ones we've used in the past, so they also need to be considered for future use. Having plans to use new technology or techniques that have been approved by local government already is important because it allows our actions to be taken quicker. These plans also allow us to track what's already been done in the past for invasive species management and to track what we want to do in the future. The updates that we generally do on the invasive species management plans are changing populations of invasive species, new herbicides or control techniques, tracking management of invasive species, and the management that's been done on individual lakes. Late last year and early this year, the Connecting Our Waters program partnered with the Menominee Indian Tribe of Wisconsin, the Menominee Land Conservation, Forestry, and Zoning Department, and the Timberland Invasive Partnership to update the Menominee County and Menominee Indian Tribe of Wisconsin's Invasive Species Strategic Management Plan. The updates were approved by Tribal Legislator and Menominee Conservation Department in February of 2020. Now, the Connecting Our Waters Invasive Species program is working with the Shawano County Land Conservation Department to update the Shawano County Invasive Species Strategic Management Plan. The review process for those updates have already begun with the submission of the first updates this month. Oops. Preventing the establishment of new or spreading invasive species requires early detection through monitoring. Connecting Our Waters regularly visits lakes and rivers in Shawano and Menominee counties to conduct aquatic invasive species monitoring. This is not only just to keep track of what's going on with current populations, but it's also to see how management efforts are progressing. We also, with monitoring, we increase the chances of catching new invasive species occurrences before they have the ability to establish. The earlier you detect an infestation is the more likely you are to control the invasive species, and the more successful the control efforts usually are. Connecting Our Waters has participated in DNR point intercept surveys on a couple lakes, but most recently Korth and Bar Lakes in Shawano County. We've conducted monitoring on Legend Lake, White Clay Lake, Shawano, the Cloverleaf Lakes, Long Lake in Menominee County, Shennick Lake, and a couple others. Sometimes we conduct monitoring in response to specific reports of invasive species sightings. In 2019, we responded to a pink water lily sighting on Shawano Lake. We joined the DNR and their regional AIS specialist in hand pulling that population when we went out to confirm the species. In July of this year, we also responded to a report of 2 zebra mussels being found in Lamotte Lake, which is that private lake in Menominee County that I talked about. Lamotte Lake had previously had no verified invasive species, so we wanted to get out there right away and see if we could confirm the species that was found and to see if we could find any more. So when we got to the citizen who had found the potential zebra mussel, we were able to confirm that the species that they had was zebra mussel, but we wanted to see for sure if there was an active population, so we conducted monitoring on Lamotte Lake. And unfortunately, through monitoring, we were able to confirm that zebra mussels are present there. By verifying the presence of zebra mussels there, although the population is sparse, it will hopefully help the Lake Association get a head start on treatment. Like I said before, the longer an invasive species is allowed to establish, the less likely it is that control will be successful. And also, the longer an invasive species population has to establish, the cost of treatment skyrockets. Of course, the cheapest and easiest way to deal with invasive species is to prevent their introduction in the first place. One way we're trying to do this is by encouraging the use and construction of decontamination stations. Recommendations for these stations are really common now in most, if not every, lake management plan, so we really want to get a head start on this. Decontamination involves exposing wetted recreational equipment like boats, boat trailers, anchors, fishing poles, and tackle to an agent that kills invasive plants and animals. Agents for decontamination include steam, hot water above 140 degrees, or a chlorine solution. Manufactured portable units for decontamination exist, but those are really expensive, typically around $10,000, which doesn't really make them feasible for lake associations to afford. An inexpensive alternative option is a permanent constructed decontamination station like the ones that were installed in Burnett and Washburn counties in the last couple years. These stations consist of a large metal sign, a boat brush, weed hook, handheld sprayer that is filled with a diluted bleach solution, which is also called a chlorine solution, and eye protection. After conversations with the AIS coordinators in Burnett and Washburn counties, the Connecting Our Waters program decided to partner with the Environmental Services Department of the Menominee Indian Tribe of Wisconsin, Menominee County Land Conservation Forestry Department, and the Legend Lake Protection and Rehabilitation District to plan a similar decon station, which will be constructed at the Legend Lake landing near the Legend Lake Lodge on Watosa Lake. We're happy to report that all of the items for the station have been purchased, and we expect the station to be constructed in spring of 2021. Implementation of the station this year was slowed and eventually postponed because of the COVID pandemic, mostly the inability to hire or ensure someone to regularly keep up with maintenance of the station, and the added stress of purchasing the cleaning equipment, as we know that the cleaning equipment like bleach and decontamination wipes and stuff like that are kind of in short supply right now. But we are really excited still to see this station being implemented, and we look forward to its construction in 2021. And we hope it'll serve as a sort of pilot study for other lake associations that are interested in an affordable way to bring decontamination stations to their lakes. A few counties and towns in Wisconsin are pursuing or have already passed ordinances which make decontamination stations obligatory when they're available. So, and we know that the Menominee County and Shawano County invasive species management plans place high priority on pursuing decontamination stations. So it's a great idea to get started early. As as well as preventing the establishment of new non-native species, we also have to manage the existing populations of AIS to prevent further spread. In 2018, we partnered with the Shawano County Land Conservation Department and Timberland Invasive Partnership to control Japanese knotweed in Shawano County. We were awarded a 3-year DNR rapid response grant to help fund the project. Japanese knotweed is a very highly invasive wetland plant. This plant has a bamboo-like hollow stalk that is red, especially in the early growth stages, and it turns a rusty red when the plant has died, and the stalks stick straight upright. Japanese knotweed it grows in extremely dense monocultures, and it chokes out other plants, which makes it really dangerous and reduces biodiversity. You can tell just how dense the populations grow in the 2 pictures on the right. The plant spreads really easily through stem cuttings, seeds, and roots. And populations found near flowing bodies of water, like the pictures on the right, are especially worrisome due to that ease by which the plant spreads using fragmentation. The treatment process that our program follows involves 2 cuttings in spring or early summer to stress the plant, and then we apply herbicide in late summer to early fall. I meant to show this one first. So this is one of the sites that we're working on. This is the Gresham Dam site. The types of herbicide that we use on each site depends on the proximity to other plants or land use. On all but one site, we used either aminopyridol or aminopyrrolid or imazapyr based on the Japanese knotweed proximity to trees. For instance, on this site at Gresham Dam, we use imazapyr, which is because this population is not just outside of the forest line, it's also within the forest there. And being so close to trees, we don't want to damage the trees, and that's why we went with imazapyr, which is safer to use in those areas. Oh, wrong way. You can see that in the pictures on the left, this site had a pretty dense population of Japanese knotweed before treatment in 2019, and then the picture on the right shows growth in spring of this year, and growth is really slow and minimal, especially outside of the tree line. It's a little less. There's more growth within the tree line just because of the more plants that kind of got in the way of treatment there. It was easier to reach all of the plants that were outside of the tree line, so that's why there's a little bit more growth within the tree lines. But overall, this site is doing really well. This site on Strauss Road sits right next to a cornfield, and it's actually starting to creep into the crop. So at this site, we use glyphosate because that's approved for use near crops. Our project has 11 sites in total, which that cover 1¼ acres in total. And several of these sites had little or no regrowth as of this year, or an overall stunted or slower growth as of this fall. And Strauss Road is an example of that kind of a site. On the left top, you see a picture of the population before the first cut. It's our biggest site. It's a very big site. And the top picture shows the site before the first cut. We had to do it in 2 steps. So that's the first partial cut, and then the bottom left is a picture before the second partial cut in 2019. And then, so it was cut, and then herbicide was also applied. And then on the right, you can see that this is spring of 2020, and you can see that there's definitely slower, more sparse regrowth. All right, well, that completes my updates for the AIS program of Connecting Our Waters. I'm going to, again, plug our contact information because I'd love to get you involved with Clean Boats, Clean Waters, AIS monitoring, citizen lake monitoring, or any of our other fun volunteer opportunities. And be sure to follow us on social media so you can see all the cool stuff that we're working on. I look forward to connecting with you, and I welcome your questions.
Thank you, Anna. Does anybody have any questions on Anna's presentation? That is a good oversight of what Connecting Our Waters has been doing with the AIS program over this past year and going forward. I don't see any other questions right now, so I think what we will do is move right ahead, and maybe some of you can get out of here just a little bit earlier. So with that being said, our next presentation was from Scott Frank, and I am going to take care of his updates here. Scott is out dealing with another issue right now. He is our land conservation department for Shawano County. And Scott wanted to make everybody aware, as Emily did during her presentation, that 2021 is the last year that Shawano County will be funding the shoreline restoration programs. He is not thinking that this is actually going to be something that they will be able to do in the future, immediate future right now with where their money came from. So please be sure that if you are interested, that you contact his office immediately so you can get on that list and be able to be one of those folks that gets to take advantage of this wonderful program. The other thing is that Shawano County Invasive Species Strategic Management Plan is being updated. The draft is available for review. If you want a copy of that, please contact myself or Anna. Anna did talk about that a little bit in her presentation. I'm going to flip this into the page here so you guys can all see this is actually quite an extensive program and undertaking to be able to do. So I'm just going to kind of flip through this right now. There is quite a bit that goes into this. So just to make you see who is all involved, this is something that takes a lot of folks to put together. And there are a lot of content. So if anybody wants to take a peek at this, anybody from Shawano County, and give your input prior to this being finalized, your input is greatly appreciated. The other thing is there has been a re-planning and way that they are going to be working with the AIS grant funding from the DNR level, and who is going to be overseeing that coordinator position. So that position that Anna currently has through Connecting Our Waters is going to be kind of a regional type position now through the DNR grant dollars, and that is being directed by the counties. For Shawano County, so Shawano County, Scott Frank Land Conservation Department will be taking over the coordination activities for the aquatic invasive species starting in 2021. So that will be the contact for AIS issues going forward and questions going forward. That position will be filled through the Land Conservation Department. So are there any questions on any of those things? Moving right along, I am going to ask Brenda to turn her webcam on. Give her just a moment to appear. There she is. Okay, so we have two presentations here. I'll take the first one really briefly, and then Brenda's going to take over with another presentation. One of the things that WAMSCO and the DNR has been working on is a really exciting I guess another tool in the toolbox for working with your AIS. So this is for containment curtains, or what we call liminal curtains. And this is a study that WAMSCO is going to be presenting and applying for a grant from the DNR. And this is all in the works, and we are excited to bring this to you. So what is this? This is something that's currently being done in Marinette County. They did the first study in Wisconsin for this, and this is utilizing curtains to contain your chemical when you are doing your treatments for invasive species, rather than having to do a whole lake treatment and being able to keep that chemical contained. So in our spot treatments that we used to do, that chemical would disperse quite rapidly, and it was not staying in contact with the plants that we want it to stay in contact with for the period of time to be the most effective. So it takes some basic supplies, which is basically a tarp type material, the same thing that you would wrap your house with, some pipe foam or some foam for flotation, which is just like what you would wrap your pipes in your house with, some PVC clips, just PVC pipe that is cut to be able to attach that. Mark has become an expert in this, as well as some weighted rope to help hold this down along the bottom of the lake. Some staples, basically some hog clamps to help attach that. Some little water bottles filled with cement, a little clip that also helps to weight that and keep that in place. Some clips and some rope to keep the curtains attached to each other. And we need a buoy to delineate where these curtains are set up so nobody runs over them with any boats. So we need a jig to make that. This is what the jig looks like. And this is when we're set up and ready to go, and a little bit of putting that together, and you can see Mark right there learning how to do that. Assembly is pretty quick and easy. You roll it on out through the jig, roll out that weighted rope on one side and the flotation foam on the other side. Roll that together, attach it with those supplies. And this is a final look at what it looks like. So you've got your weighted rope on the bottom that's being attached by the hog clamps. And then you've got your rope to your regular rope that helps to pull it through the water, and also to be able to clip it onto subsequent curtains, since we do these in 100-foot sections. This is what the completed curtain looks like when it's all wrapped up and rolled up and ready to go for deployment or storage. And they only weigh about 20 pounds. They're pretty light. They're just a little oppy, easier to handle with two people. Deploying and retrieving is virtually the same. You just do it in reverse. So there's a little jig that you can put those rolled up curtains on and be able to put that on a pontoon boat, drive through the water and deploy that, putting your weights down. You can see on the trailer picture here in the bottom left-hand corner, there is a rolled curtain up there. along with a 5-gallon bucket that's filled with cement and a little clip. And that's what you put your buoys, attach your buoys to. That also serves as another weight to keep that curtain in place. And they really do not move very far. There's no permit required if it's less than 4 days in the water, as long as you have signage that is required at any boat launch, public access point, along with buoys that have some reflective tape and some signage on there. So you can see the herbicide keep out. This is what they're using for that signage. And this is what it looks like when it's in the water. Back to that first picture there, where you can see that it's kind of doubled over here where it gets real shallow, which is just fine. It's keeping that chemical in place, and it's floating right on the top. And then when it comes to the shoreline, it's just attached to something on the shore, such as a tree that you can see in that upper right-hand corner. So with that float on the top, that basically your pipe wrap there, that floats on the top of the water, just like your swimming noodles that you would use for just floating in the water. It rides the waves as they come by, so it's always on top of the water. And fish is an issue that people are concerned with. How does this affect the fish? Do they stay in there? Are they trapped in there? No, they're not. When they're actually able to swim right over the top and jump right over the top, as these are being deployed in Marinette County. Even before any chemical is in there at all, fish were actually swimming over the top of this. Decontamination is very simple. You just need a large flat paved surface. They're actually using a school or county parking lot. You spray it off with a low concentration of a bleach solution, let it dry in the sun, and re-roll it and store it for the next use. That's about it. And there's a bunch of cost share options as well. I'm just going to go through that because I'm going to then let Brenda take over from here. And I'm going to get Brenda's presentation up here. Okay, take it away, Brenda, and just tell me when you want me to click on the next slide.
Okay, sounds good. So a little background here on why we need these lino curtains is because we've done a lot of research on spot treatment. So there's two types of treatments: a whole lake treatment where the entire lake is treated at a very low concentration, and it's known that that contact time is going to be for a while. But there's an issue with spot treatments. A spot treatment is when you treat a very small portion of the water, and the issue with that is when you put that herbicide in those small areas, it almost instantaneously dilutes, just like putting food coloring in water. So we struggled for many, many years on this dilution. And what we've noticed through our research is that at the very best, you get minimal seasonal nuisance relief. And some of the other issues that may occur is when you're given those plants just a little bit of a tickle, you could be creating some herbicide tolerance of that. So in the subsequent years, if you do need to do spot treatments, you may have to use stronger herbicides or a concoction of herbicides. And again, you're still getting, at best, nuisance seasonal relief, and it is costing lake groups a lot of money. So Marinette County, like Shanda said, devised a way to essentially keep that herbicide in contact so it does not dilute rapidly, and they're basically just a fancy silk curtains, and not even fancy silk curtains, because as you saw, the material used is very cheap and very easy to use. So the thought is that those curtains will keep that herbicide on site, preventing it from diluting. So we decided to partner with WAMSCO. WAMSCO decided to partner with the DNR and other lake groups to identify 3 lakes to use these on as a research in the WAMSCO area. The reason these lakes were chosen is because they have the same issues that we're seeing statewide. Mashapwa was chosen because it does have a couple different strains of milfoil. One is a hybrid strain. It's called hybrid milfoil 1, which through our research we've noticed has been specifically tolerant of herbicide, and we've struggled with it statewide. And the same thing with Loon Lake too. It also has that strain, but the issue with Loon Lake is that it's located in flowing water. So for Mashapwa, we're going to do a treatment on hybrid milfoil 1, and then treatment with regular Eurasian water milfoil, but there's going to be 3 different types of herbicides used just to test against each other to see which one produces the best results. For Loon Lake, there's going to be 1 treatment with hybrid milfoil 1 in flowing water. And then on Long Lake, curly-leaf pondweed is the species that is going to be targeted. So I can show you what areas are going to be treated. So on the screen, Long Lake is on there. The blue circles are the treatment areas. And Shannon, if you want to go to the next slide. So when we did these delineations, before you do a treatment, you have to do what's called a pre-treatment survey just to get baseline data. And the areas where the dots are, we did a point intercept survey, or it's called a sub-polygon point intercept survey, because there's a lot more coordinates in these areas. It gives us better statistics when we're all done. So we did this pre-treatment survey, and we were able to further delineate the areas because we only want to treat the areas where the curly-leaf pondweed is, so we don't spend a lot more money on the actual herbicide. And after doing these pre-treatment surveys, the red areas are the areas that contained the majority of the curly-leaf pondweed. So those were the final redelineations, the areas that are outlined in kind of the red boxes there. So what we decided to do with that, the first area, or the area on the top, it's 1 acre and there's an average depth of about 4 feet. And we're going to use an herbicide called endothol. It's an herbicide that is very effective on the curly-leaf pondweed. And as you can see, there's 666, give or take, feet of curtain to be used on that one. And then the south treatment area is a little bigger. It's about 2 acres with, again, an average depth of 4 feet. Endothol is being used again in a little more curtain, about 1,100 feet of lineal curtain there. And go to the next one. So the next one is Loon Lake, and this is the one where I said it's got a very stubborn hybrid milfoil, and you can't see it very well in that photo, but there's an inlet coming in there which is causing flow. And in the past, this has been treated using the traditional spot treatments, and that flow has just caused that herbicide to wash off site almost instantaneously. So the curtain is going to go around that area. We're not going to cut off the stream itself. It's just going to be anchored to shore, like in the slides that Shanda showed. And the herbicide is going to be a 2,4-D, and you want to go to the next slide, Shanda. And it's about 4 acres, average depth of 3 feet. And we're going to use the 2,4-D at 4 parts per million, which is the legal amount that you can put on it per the herbicide label. And we're going to keep that on there for about 4 days. And for that one, about 1,170 feet of curtains will be used, an application fee of about $1,900. And the next one. Okay, here is the fun one. This is Mashapwa Lake. And as you can see, there's 5 treatment areas. And you want to go to the next one, Shanda? So area A has the hybrid milfoil, number 1, that tough strain. And we're going to use 2,4-D at maximum rate, that 4.0 ppm with contact time of 4 days, and about 800 linear feet of curtain for that one. It's 0.65 acres in size at an 8-foot average depth, so it is kind of a deeper one. And then area B, down to the left or down to the bottom, is again that hybrid one. And we're going to treat with a newer herbicide. Last year, I believe, was the first year it was really used widely in the state. It's called Procelacor, and the concentration are a little different. We're going to go in at 2.0 PDU for a contact time of, again, 4 days. We're just going to really use that 4-day contact time that's allowed in the permit. About 2,800 feet of curtain is going to be used for that one. So that's a bigger one. It's about 5.5 acres in size and average depth of about 7.5 feet. And getting them volumetrics in there is really, really important, because if you don't get that accurate, you're going to either have way too much herbicide or not enough herbicide. So we try to get as accurate as we can. And we get that from the pre-treatment surveys, because those surveys capture the depth as well. All right, want to go to the next one? Okay, here's sub-polygon 1, and this is just pure EWM. And we're going to go with a contact time of 4 days again, but we're going to go a little less strong on the herbicide, and that's because this is pure EWM, and we don't think we need it as strong. So why waste, the extra money on the 2,4-D if you don't need it as strong, since this is the pure stuff, non-hybrid. And this is about 1 acre and 7-foot average depth. So it is still a little deeper. And there's going to be about 840 feet of curtain that will be used. And then go to our last one. So polygon 2, this is again pure EWM. And we're going to go again a little weaker at 3.0 parts per million with that contact time of 4 days. We probably could go maybe a contact time of 2 or 3 days, but it's just easier to logistics wise, just to keep those all at 4.0 ppm. And in the future, if we want to decrease that a little bit, we can work with it there. But this one is 1.5 acre roughly, and about 6 feet of average depth with about 900 feet of curtain. Okay, so that was most of them. And then area 3, this is again another hybrid one, and it's about 1/2 acre in size, 7-foot average depth. And we're going to use a newer herbicide here called Chinook. It's with 2,4-D and endothol. Historically, when you apply 2,4-D and endothol, you couldn't do it, you could not mix them in the same tank because they would gel up. Recently, the manufacturers of the endothol did something chemically where they did allow them to be mixed in the same tank without gelling up, and this product is called Chinook. So it's a little cheaper to use as well, and the thought with using 2 herbicides is they have different modes of action, and this could really be effective on that hybrid one. So this is going to be our other experiment, and it's about 480 feet of liminal curtain will be used for this one as well. So as you saw, Mashakwood is going to be a really fun one to do, because we got the hybrid one, and we're using 3 different herbicides on that one, and then we've got the regular Eurasian water milfoil where we're using the standard 2,4-D. So that will be a fun one to do when we do these post-treatment surveys and to see how this all comes out. And then the next slide. Okay, so here's some of the barrier costs for this in case any of the lake groups are interested in doing this. And one thing that I do want to add, the reason why WAMSCO did want to sponsor this grant is in the future, if other lake groups did want to use a liminal curtain, they could do it. So, it is for use in the future for the other lake groups. But I do want to, stress the sanitation or disinfecting is going to be really, really important for this, just because we do not want to spread invasive species between the lakes. So if other lakes are using this, you want to wait at least a few days in between, just for everything to completely die out that may be stuck to the curtains. So I think that was the last slide. Anybody have any questions? Oh, this is the grant too. If anybody wants to, see the budget, these things, certainly are not overall cheap, but in the long run, I think it will pay off because the amount of money that we've spent on these spot treatments is nothing compared to how I guess inexpensive this will be, because the herbicide will certainly stay on target with these curtains being used. And then Mashawquot Lake and Long Lake are donating a lot of time for cost share, because these grants do require 25% cost share. So those folks are donating a lot of volunteer time. Without that, this project would not be possible. And Loon Lake is also volunteering some as well. So that is it. Any questions?
We can't hear you, Shonda. We can't hear you, Shonda.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thanks, Brenda. One of the final things as we bump right along here is our board of directors. We need to make sure that we do this. I'm going to have Mark go ahead.
Hello?
Yep.
All right. So it's time for election of the WAMSCO officers for 2021. These are the current members of the board. We're seeking one more board member at large. If you are interested and or would like to nominate anyone for this role, we're accepting nominations from the attendees at the present time. Would anyone like to nominate a potential member? Anyone in Shawano and Menominee County would be eligible, particularly someone who is either involved in a lake association, a management district, has an interest in the watershed, or is a member of the agricultural community. We would be interested in anyone who would be interested in serving this important organization.
Thanks, Mark. And since this is also going to be posted on our website with a link and sent out, I will also add that WAMSCO has an email at wamsco@gmail.com. So that's WAMSCO@gmail.com. And if you are not currently watching this presentation live and you would like to volunteer, please email us. We don't have any volunteers at this very moment, Mark?
Having no additional volunteers, all other board members are nominated for continued service in their current roles. I'd like to make a motion to accept the current board for 2021.
Okay, and do we have a second? You can type that in the chat box.
Or can I blurt it out? I will second that. Chris Sampson.
Okay. And
Any other second? All in favor?
aye.
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 All opposed? Then the 2021 board will remain the same as it was for 2020.
Okay, perfect. And the last thing on our list here is just any questions and answers. One thing that I did want to make note of also when we talked about the shoreline restorations or the Healthy Lakes grants and the requirement of that an individual is not allowed to apply just for one personal property. There are your lake district, your lake association, sanitary districts can certainly apply. Connecting Our Waters is able to help with that. And WAMSCO is also an approved nonprofit conservation organization and can apply on your behalf. But again, all those applications do have deadlines. So please let us know ahead of time and we will certainly submit a grant. We'd love to do a group grant for multiple shoreline and rain garden, any restoration projects, and put that all in one. So please reach out to us. Again, our email is wamsco@gmail.com. We do have our website, which is currently being updated, is wamsco.com. So please feel free to check us out. Those of you that are weekenders, not full-time folks, and are coming up to your cabins to come enjoy the wonderful water sports and views that you have in this beautiful, beautiful area. Please check out our fishing forecast for your anglers. There's also a nice fishing forecast that is on our website, so you can check out what the weather is going to be like up here and check out if there's going to be some good fishing or not before you make that trip. So there's some useful tools on our website as well as many other resources for water conservation, land conservation, aquatic invasive species. There's links to all of our other resources with the DNR, UW Extension, Connecting Our Waters, Foxwolf Watershed Alliance, and Land Conservation Department, as well as multiple other lake and water organizations throughout these two counties. With that being said, is there anything else that any of our board members would like to add? With the silence, I'm guessing not. So,
Hey, Shanda, this is Brenda. As an advisor, could I be able to add something before you guys close off here?
You most certainly can, and we are very grateful for our advisors, which is something that I did not acknowledge, and I would certainly like to do that real quickly. The Wisconsin DNR, the land conservation departments from both Shawano and Menominee counties, Scott Frank and Jeremy Johnson, Connecting Our Waters, Foxwolf Watershed Alliance, Emily and Anna have been great resources. As well as those folks from UW Extension who have been assisting us and being a resource throughout this entire process with everything that we do. Jamie Patton with UW Extension, she wears like so many hats, I can't keep track of them. And Wild Ones has been a great resource and assisted us as well. I'm feeling I'm forgetting the tribal folks at both the Menominee tribe as well as the Stockbridge-Muncie tribe are also actively involved and serve as great resources for the WAMSCO Board of Directors. So thank you to all of you. Take it away, Brenda.
So I was just going to give a couple of highlights of what happened since our meeting in 2019. This 501c3 was started as a result of all the different aquatic invasive species issues that each lake was facing. So I'll just do a quick rundown of this past year's AIS activities, and then I'm going to get into something that was kind of interesting this year, non-AIS related. But first, the AIS stuff. Red Lake, the town of Gresham, they continued with their harvesting. They do just mechanical harvesting for navigational issues. Shawano Lake, the same thing. They do navigation, harvesting, and then herbicide treatments to Washington Lake, did a spot treatment, and I'm hoping in the future they'll utilize the limno curtains because their spot treatments have been, pretty much ineffective. So the Loon Lake upstream will hopefully provide good results. Legend Lake also did some treatments for navigation relief. White Clay did treatments for their cattails, and we saw an increase in the wetland permits this year. We had a number for cattails and Phragmites, and as Anna talked about before, their Japanese knotweed project. So there was definitely an increase in the wetland permits this year. And then we had 2 new zebra mussel incidences. They weren't in Shawano or Menominee counties though. The ones I'm talking about, they were in Oconto County. And the reason I'm bringing those up is because they're on 2 destination lakes, Archibald Lake and Boot Lake. Boot Lake is obviously, a fairly utilized campground up there. So if you hear of any of your, lake residents going to Archibald and Boot Lake, we did find a few zebra mussels up there this year, and it is confirmed. So just, remind folks if they're going up there for some family events that they disinfect when they come back to your lake. And one of the big issues that we had occur this year was Pensacola Lake had a fish kill. Pensacola Lake is outside of Cecil. And, normally when we see fish kills, it's because of oxygen depletion, obviously, or some sort of a runoff event. And this was the result of a runoff event, but not a man-made one. With all the high waters, a lot of the wetlands surrounding Pensacola got flushed out, and some of the byproducts of wetlands are phosphorus and nitrogen, and we know the issues that phosphorus cause, but one of the issues is that nitrogen is often overlooked, and the byproduct of nitrogen is ammonia, and that can really interfere with the fish's metabolic process, and that's what we believe occurred there. So this was a natural fish kill that occurred because of the high waters and flushing out the wetlands. I do have a few other lakes in Oconto County where this is happening, but we didn't have the severe fish kills that we had in Pensacola. We're just seeing very high nitrogen, ammonia, and phosphorus chlorophyll levels without the fish kills. But this is something that I think the department has overlooked in the past, is these natural fish kills caused by wetlands, and that there's nothing you can do about it. Just a natural product of Mother Nature. That was something that happened this past February. So again, like I always tell people, if you do see a fish kill, please let us know right away, because we go out there and do a lot of profiles of certain water quality parameters, and we like to get on it right away. And if it's something that's man-made, we'll obviously cut the spigot off or the source off right away. And if it's not man-made, we definitely get that information out to all the residents on the lake. And that is what I have for this year that hasn't been talked about already.
Thanks, Brenda. Well, with all that said, I think that we were able to fly through what we have right now. We apologize that this wasn't in person. Another thing completely out of our control. We hope that next year we can do that, because we really had some really great, more visual, hands-on presentations that we really wanted to bring to you. So we hope that we can do that next spring. In the meantime, if anybody has any questions, concerns, would like to have our assistance with any projects in their area, or would like us to include you in any shoreline or rain garden or any other grant processes, please reach out to us. We'd be happy to help you with any of those things. And again, our contact information is wamsco@gmail.com. So please reach out to us. We do monitor that email daily, so we will get back to you in a very timely fashion. If you would like a phone call back, please include your information in that email, and there will be a phone call made to you. With that being said, I'd like to thank everybody for attending, and those that are watching this after the fact. And we hope to see you all in the spring for our 2022 annual meeting, hopefully at our regular time slot. So look for future emails, and we look forward to talking with you and seeing you all very soon. Thanks, everybody. Oh, Mark, would you like to call I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Yeah, well, we need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make
that motion.
I'll second.
I'll second. Okay.
Aye.
All in
Aye.
favor, aye.
Aye.
Well, I was looking for any opposed. Having heard no opposed, the motion to adjourn is carried unanimously. Arrivederci.
Good
Okay.
job. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Aye.